welcome to Week 8 in the NFL. I'm Big Italy 42 here from dailyfantasycafe.com, talking about some of my favorite plays for Week 8, and also our lineup optimizer, dailyfantasycafe.com, showing you how to make a lot of great FantasyHub lineups. So, showing you a couple of great contests here is first off, you got $10, $25, $5, up to $100 buy-in games here. So big-time prize pools. If you look at the athlete leagues over here, click on this tab. It's going to show you some great ones where you can help play for some great prizes and help out some great charities there as well. So make sure you check those out. And I'll be in a lot of those myself on Sunday. So starting off here, talking about some of my favorite plays. You go at quarterback, where normally you look at a top play, it's going to be at the top price-wise. But scrolling all the way down here to number 9, that's Phillip Rivers at $6,500, facing off against the Baltimore team. It's allowing 283 passing yards a game through the air, nearly 27 points a game. And Phillip Rivers, as you can see here, struggled at the beginning of last week's game, came through at the end. He's throwing a ton of passes. Look at this, 58, 65, 48. Has eclipsed 25 points in 3 of his last 4, at least 20 in 4 straight. This is a guy, look at these numbers of 336 plus yards in 4 straight as well. Phillip Rivers against this terrible secondary, going to be throwing a ton. He's on pace to break the record for most attempts in a season. And struggle early, struggle late, doesn't matter as long as he keeps producing. $6,500, he makes it in as my favorite play there this week. Going down for some cheaper guys, I'm looking all the way down here at $5,000, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Against Oakland, who's allowing the most passing yards in the game per game in the NFL this season, 303.8 yards. Over his last 2 games here, 41 of 65, 548 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. 2 straight games over 20 points. Obviously, you had that dud against Miami the game before that. But what you're looking at here with Ryan Fitzpatrick is the fact that he's minimum salary and the best matchup you could possibly get. He's been more than a game manager. Hasn't had a 300-yard performance yet this season, but if he's going to have one, this is the week, because this is an Oakland team that's averaging over 300 yards allowed per game. So Ryan Fitzpatrick, definitely a nice minimum salary play. If you're looking for some other guys outside of those, I love Andy Dalton at $5,800. Ben Roethlisberger at $66, assuming that he plays at home against the Bengals. That one should be a shootout there. And Cam Newton at $6,600 against Indy. This is a game where Carolina's favored big time. We know he calls his own number in the red zone. Just a lot to like about Cam Newton this week. Running backs. Top play here, also not going to be the most expensive. Scrolling down here to Todd Gurley at $6,100. This guy has been a machine over the past few weeks. Last week, 163 total yards, 35 of those through the air on 4 catches. Now facing off against the San Francisco team that's 28th in the league against the run. They're 27th against running backs catching passes out of the backfield, according to Football Outsiders there. A lot to like about Todd Gurley here, and that price is still just too cheap. So go ahead and just get Todd Gurley into your lineups. There are some other great options. If Ben Roethlisberger plays, I absolutely love Le'Veon Bell. He could be lower owned than he should be. He has killed the Bengals in his short career. Devonta Freeman, obviously still in play at $7,800. Not an ideal matchup. Tampa Bay is a top 10 run defense, according to Football Outsiders. Not an ideal spot for him, but his volume is so high. He's the focal point of this offense. I just love targeting him still. Other side of that game, Doug Martin, $5,400. Really the only thing not going for him this week is the fact that, Tampa Bay is an 8-point underdog, but Martin's been phenomenal over the last 3 weeks. Getting a ton of touches, well over 20 each week. You just got to like his prospects there moving forward. And then looking at some other guys, I like Marshawn Lynch there as well. And your cheap value play this week is going to be Chris Johnson. Not a guy that gets a ton of volume, but this is a Browns team that allows 151 rushing yards per game. By far the worst in all of football. Got gashed by Gurley last week. Obviously, Chris Johnson at this point in his career nowhere near the running back that Todd Gurley is at this point in his career. But Johnson is getting the lion's share of the carries, has over 100 yards in 2 or 3 weeks, and you're not going to see a better matchup than this. So $4,500, I'll slot him in there as a pivot. Danny Woodhead as well, $4,400. Love him on full PPR here. He could rack up points in a hurry. We saw him with 12 catches last week. A lot of that because the team was way behind, just throwing a ton. But Danny Woodhead has a nice high floor and nice ceiling there as well. Wide receivers, this is once again contingent on Ben Roethlisberger's status, but looks like he's on the right side of likely to play. I absolutely love the price tag on Antonio Brown at $7,700. Football Outsiders has the Bengals at 29th in the league against number 1 wide receivers. Antonio Brown, one of the best number 1 in all of football. Other guys you can consider, Keenan Allen at $7,500 against that terrible Baltimore secondary. I like Mike Evans at $6,600 against Atlanta. He's in a great spot. He's seeing a ton of volume there as well. Steve Smith, senior, continues to be too cheap, $6,300 there as well. And then as far as cheap guys go, there's a couple. Love Eric Decker. Every game this season he has a touchdown pass touchdown catch and or 90 plus receiving yards. One game with both. Every game with at least a touchdown or 90. So this guy's a nice high floor. He doesn't have an enormous ceiling, but mentioned how bad Oakland's been against the pass. You got to give him a look this week. You can look at Martavis Bryant as well. But the cheaper guys I'm really looking at here, Michael Crabtree on the other side of that Oakland, New York game, Stephon Diggs, and then Willie Snead. All these guys well under $5,000. So nice prices for them. Tight end spot here. There's no Rob Gronkowski. He already did his Gronk smashing on Thursday night, but I'm loving Tyler Eifert at $5,100 against Pittsburgh. Football Outsiders has him ranked 20th against the tight end position. He has two multiple touchdown games this season, 12 for $120 and 3 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. Eifert's going to be a guy that Andy Dalton's looking to a lot this week. Outside of him, if Josh McCown gets to start, I like Gary Barnidge. If Johnny Manziel starts, I like the Cardinals defense, and I won't be playing any Browns players. But outside of that, Ladarius Green continues to be minimum salary. Looks like Antonio Gates probably going to sit out again with that MCL sprain, so he makes for another option for you there. All right, now I'm going to show you how to go over here to dailyfantasycafe.com. NFL Lineup Optimizer. It's under Tools, Lineup Optimizer. Select, of course, FantasyHub. I'll show you how to lock some of these guys into your lineups, show you some of these features, and how to make yourself some great lineups here. Looking here at filters, obviously you see these kind of faded colors here. These are games that have been taken out. Obviously, main slate is not going to include this game. If you want to take out, this is the London game at 9:30. If you want to take out one team at a time, you click it like this. You see the color goes away. If you want to click out an entire time period, you can click out the 9:30 there. It's going to take out all the games from that time period. So if you do 1 o'clock, it's going to take out all the 1 o'clocks. If you do an early only, you take out the 4 o'clock, things like that. You can filter by salary. You can do just by game slate. Filter by team total here as well. Then looking down at the advanced options here, telling you how to work all these GPP options or cash. Cash is going to give you the higher floor, not quite the high ceilings. You obviously want to exclude defenses facing your offensive player. You never want your player to score a touchdown and cost you points on your defense. You can do disallow running back, quarterback on the same team. I don't think that's completely necessary. Sometimes it makes sense, but usually for a tournament, you want to get your wide receivers in there unless it's an elite pass-catching back. So I'm going to take that off here. Maximum number of players in each lineup from a team. You obviously don't want to have 4 or 5, usually even 3 players from the same team, but I'm still going to take this. I'm going to leave this on, but I'm going to leave it at 3 here. You can lock your flex position. You know you want a wide receiver, running back, tight end, things of that nature. Individual player exposure, what that is, you pick that here. Say you want AJ Green, you're going to make 10 lineups, and you want to have him in 7 of them. You're going to click that, select this, type in 70%. It's going to put him in 7 of those 10 lineups. Global player exposure, you turn that on. All these information are on these little I buttons here as well. So you can have this, you could say, I want to have this guy in no more than a certain number of my lineups. You can set that right here. Stacking, you can build your own stacks here. Import those. You can upload your own projections, and you can change new models here. Yards per game allowed, Vegas total, fantasy points allowed as well. And if you go through, set a whole bunch of stuff, you don't like what you did, you can reset everything down there. So what I'm going to do here is close that up, leave that as is. I'm going to lock in a couple guys. So I'm going to go first with Phillip Rivers. If you click the X, they will not be included. If you click the lock, they'll be in all of the lineups. So I'm going to go with Phillip Rivers. I'm going to go ahead and pair him with Keenan Allen and click him in right there. And then one other guy I'm going to lock in is going to be Tyler Eifert. So I'm going to type him in there, lock him. And then number of lineups, I'll go with 10 here just to try to give you an idea of some different ones. Generate lineups here. It's going to pop up some lineups, give you some other ideas. Obviously, all the quarterbacks, all the spots that I locked in are all going to be the same. Notice I took off the maximum players. That's why you see Danny Woodhead and Keenan Allen in multiple teams. You got Nate Washington down here at 3,500. Had a huge game last week. Todd Gurley, Justin Forsett, Devontae Freeman. That gives you a really high ceiling there. You got projected points here, values as well. Looking at some other guys here. Over here, PPR monster Duke Johnson at minimum salary against Arizona. The Browns, if and probably when they're behind, going to be throwing him quite a bit. Michael Crabtree, another guy I had mentioned, gets thrown in that one. Over here, you've got Giovanni Bernard as another one of those PPR running backs with some big-time upside. And then you can just get yourself an idea, maybe some players you didn't see, maybe some guys you didn't realize were so cheap. You got Martavis Bryant over here in this one. Over here, Darren McFadden. Going to be a low-owned play there as well. So you can build up to 100 lineups at a time. You can save those, download them, things of that nature. So hopefully that helped you out for this week, Week 8. If you got any questions, you can find me on Twitter at BigItaly42. But if not, good luck this week, and I'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.